On behalf of the eServices Payment Technology team, I'd like to welcome you to Lessons in EMS Leadership. My name is Gary Harvat, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. And joining me today is my longtime friend and colleague, BJ Pino. I think you'll find that BJ's responses to my questions, I'll try not to throw you too many curveballs today, will ones that make you think. I lovingly refer to BJ and have for many years as kind of the senior statesman of EMS in Western Pennsylvania. Great guy, started his career back in 1976 at Citizens Ambulance Service under the great name of a gentleman by the name of Jerry Esposito, and worked his way through and stayed at an organization 50 years. Not many of us do that. And in 1999, BJ was promoted to Chief Operating Officer, and just last year retired. So he's done an incredible job in a rural county facing many challenges. Many of those challenges we don't face here in urban areas. So it's great to have BJ here and gain some of his insights. So BJ, welcome. It's good to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And always glad to see your smiling face. I might add that those of us being interviewed today all have done a great job. But for those of you that have attended the Legends event back in May or seen any of the videos, all of us were upstaged by BJ's 12-year-old granddaughter, Laureline, who was just great. So I know right now, BJ, you probably wouldn't mind having her here with you right
Absolutely.
now, but sorry, pal, you're on the hot seat. So BJ, along the way, you've seen a lot of changes, and you've led lots of people in a county just northeast of us, covering pretty much the entire county. And I'm sure you've learned some lessons along the way, but what lessons of leadership have you brought forth and given to the people who are maybe running the organization now or who've helped you along the way? What's been your main perspective? What is your primary source of offering up leadership to any individual who's not only in rural areas but also urban areas?
Understand what your purpose is and embrace it. I would also suggest that you need to understand completely and totally from the beginning that you can't do this by yourself. You're setting yourself up for failure if you do not create a network, if you do not create relationships with associates. Because trust, there will come a time when you will need to call upon others for that assistance and guidance to get you through it. You had mentioned that I had indeed the great fortune of studying under several people that were excellent in their managerial roles, and Jerry being one of them, of course. One of his strong suits that he demonstrated, but also passed on, was he knew how to put the right people in the room. And I think it's critical for all of us to understand that you do need to put people in the room with you to solve those problems. Again, I believe that if you make yourself an island within an industry that requires reaching out to all of these different aspects in which you serve, right? You have to formalize that. You have to make sure that that stream of communication, that stream of whatever work relationship you want to call it, is going to constantly be fluid. I think it's an important lesson to learn very early on.
So I tend to concentrate more on a rural setting because obviously that's where you come from. Many challenges, right? Many
Sure.
challenges. What kept you motivated? What kept you grounded to make a difference in a county that the houses aren't sitting next to each other in many cases? Ambulances are kind of a tight commodity. There's not lots of them out there, and you have to get to these people who deserve to have good coverage all the time. What kept you going?
Understanding what your purpose is.
Tell me more.
Doing more with less. You know, all those great cliches. Well, you have to embrace that to some degree. And just because I was affected by a comment one time, and that was a professional that made a comment that you deserve what you get. What I'm saying here is, literally made a statement that if you so choose to live in a rural environment, if you get an ambulance in 30 minutes, it's because you chose to live in such a place. I had a bit of a problem with that. The reason being is understanding the purpose, and that is caring for people, right?
Sure.
So you got to find the best way, the best mechanism that you can indeed deliver to care for people. So I'll stop it there, I think.
So when you retired last year
Yeah,
and walked out that door,
yeah.
those are very hard shoes to fill. If you might, taking that comment from me, they are. But surely somebody right now is attempting to do it right now. Did you part with any words of wisdoms for that individual?
I think it's already been said, unto thyself be true. One of the hardest lessons I learned was early on with that involvement, where you immediately need to understand and learn that in a position of leadership, it's not about you. Never is about you. If you make it about you, I think you're going to find yourself gravely disappointed in the outcomes. Sure, you're the person making policy. You're the person setting the course of the ship to some degree. But it is always for the betterment of the organization, for the people that are working not for you. People never work for you. You work together. Always. So for those that choose to think about those decisions and making it because of how it could affect them, that's usually when the disappointment comes. And I learned that early on when I indeed had an encounter where it was not going to be a fatal mistake, that if I made this decision, I was more concerned about perception. I was more concerned about how people would relate to me and where I would be left in a leadership role if I chose A, what's behind curtain 1 or curtain 2. I forgot some basic rules. If you believe that your course should be this, because it's based on factual evidence, because it's based on belief that the ultimate decision is for the betterment of all involved, but you steer away from that because someone is influencing you one way or the other, and you make that decision to veer away from it. That's what happened. As I said, it wasn't fatal, but from that point on, I made the decision not to be a stone-headed individual, someone that would certainly not listen to someone else, but I wanted to listen to my own mind and my heart moving forward, and how I would lead, and more importantly, how I would respond to people. And keeping those goals in mind, up to and including what your purpose is. And it's not about you, it's about the end result and all the people that you're working with to make that happen.
So I consider myself fortunate sharing some very proud moments of my career with you.
Likewise.
But I'm going to just put you on the spot and ask you if you had to single one proudest moment out of your 50-year career at Citizens, Could you put your finger on that and tell me what that is?
I saw them celebrate 60 years of service to the county, to all of the communities that they had served in some pretty challenging times.
Yeah.
And the wonderful people that I had the pleasure of working with, all of us pulling together made that happen. So I feel pretty good about that.
Good. What keeps you up at night right now?
Besides a little acid reflux. I have concern about where we're currently at in emergency medical services and where we're going to go. And I sometimes ask myself this basic question, when you hear about, well, how are we going to fix this problem? Well, we're going to invest in this. And sure, the money is a root issue, and we no sense belaboring that. Everybody understands. But will that annual sustainable funding stream become a reality, especially in a rural environment? Is it possible to get people to actually think finally that emergency medical services is a critical and, more importantly, an essential service? Will people eventually understand that, sure, as humans we react for numerous ways, and we have a tendency to become way too political with everything. Could we absolutely set aside just for a moment that politics and public service really don't mix? Because again, the purpose should be caring for the individuals and not how it's going to affect you of making decision A or decision B. So I guess this is a lengthy but involved answer to your question.
Oh, I get it.
But it's not a simple answer. But I would say that I would reflect that I think we have some bright young people in our world. I am hopeful that we can turn some of this around. And I continue to remain hopeful that people will understand the importance of caring for people. And we will see a resurgence in putting that at the top of the ladder, as opposed to all of the things that want to shy us away from that role and responsibility. We worry about how to pay for it first before all the above. So
BJ?
those are the things that stick in my mind.
Well, as always, well thought out responses to my questions, and we wouldn't expect anything less from our senior statesman here, but thank you for joining me, and as always, your friendship and the things that we've done together over the years mean quite a bit. And I'm not just saying that because we're on a video machine here.
That's right,
but you know that, and
That's
I
right.
thank you for taking time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, pal.